How does an electric vehicle charging point fit in with a solar PV system? This is the start in a series of videos where we're going to go in depth on every step of installing a domestic solar photovoltaic system. So make sure you like and subscribe, and let's get into it. So I'm going to set myself up a little workbench and I'm going to show you the setup that I have planned for this job. Some really great equipment they're installing here. By the way, today's video is sponsored by Replenish. More about that later. So this is the layout that we've got planned for the board that we've put on this wall. You can see here we've got a myenergi Zappi electric vehicle charging point going in, and we've got a myenergi Libby battery going in. The myenergi system is going to help us to maximize the amount of solar that we can use ourselves and consume ourselves so that we're not exporting it out to the grid. Now we've got a 10 kilowatt solar system here with an 8 kilowatt inverter. It's going to generate a lot of power, so we want to use that as much as possible. And the customer's got an electric vehicle that they're going to be parking in this garage, so the Zappi is going to help direct that excess solar into the car rather than sending it out to the grid. And I'll show you exactly how it works in this video down to the very detail. I am so annoyed. I spent so much effort planning this all out to the millimetre, this board, right? The thing with this job is every millimetre counts. On this board here, this is our real estate basically that we've got to work with to fit all of our equipment, and we want it to look good, we want it to last for a long time, and the only way that we can do that is by specifying the right part. I've painstakingly specified every single item on the list that we sent to the wholesaler, and they've gone, oh, you just want a 4-pole isolator, 63 amp isolator, okay, we'll just give you the cheapest one that we've got on the shelf. That annoys me. If I ask for a specific part number, that is what I want. Or it's like with Tesco, you know, if they substitute you out something else because they don't have what you want, they at least ask or they let you know. They should have done that, and so I could have said, no, I really need these particular items, or yeah, okay, substitute me and I can change the plan. Now I'm stuck here, I'm trying to crack on, and my plan is up the creek without a paddle, down the Swanee, and left and right and all over the place. So I'm a bit frustrated, as you can tell. I'm just trying to get organised, make sure I've got all the materials that I need, and then I can really start throwing stuff on the wall in the most beautiful and neat way possible. So this is our myenergi Zappi charging point. We install these a lot, especially when we've got solar. And the reason is they are basically unique in the way that they help you to integrate your solar PV into your EV charging process. And I'll explain exactly how it works a bit later. This is an untethered unit. We usually fit tethered ones, but because this garage is quite wide, the customer wanted to be able to have a really long cable, like a 10-meter cable potentially, so that they could charge a vehicle on the far side of the garage. So that's fine. So we've got an untethered one today. It comes with one CT clamp, which means we're going to need a couple of extra CT clamps. We're going to need one for the solar, and there's also another solar system in the existing house. So we're going to actually need 2 solar arrays connected to this Zappi, and then the battery, which will be the myenergi battery, will also talk to it. So we're going to need 3 CTs, one for the grid, one for this solar, and one for the house solar. And what is a CT? It stands for current transformer, and I'll explain a bit later exactly what a CT does. But basically you clamp it around the cable, it measures how much current is passing through, so it will give us measurements about how much this solar array is generating, and if there's any excess solar being sent out to the grid, it will tell the Zappi to ramp up and start charging the car to use up that excess solar. But it will just charge the car at the rate of the remaining excess solar, so that it uses all of that up. Very, very clever. I'm preparing the board to run the electric vehicle charging point off of it. The charging point's going to go here on the wall. I've just got to connect this main earth. It's a 25mm armoured cable feeding from the house to this, so it's quite thick, and 25mm will not fit in the earthing terminal. So we've got these little pin crimps. It's like basically a reducer, so you can install it on this 25mm earth, and then it will enable you to fit that 25mm cable into the earthing terminal. Although it looks like even that will not fit for some reason, which is soul destroying. These earthing terminals in these fuse box consumer units are very small for some reason. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way around this somehow. Let me know in the comments what you guys would do. I was really looking forward to installing the myenergi Libby battery, and unfortunately it's been delayed. So we're not going to be installing it today, but we are going to be installing it in a couple of months' time. So definitely like and subscribe and have notification bells on, ready for that video, because it is going to be awesome. We're searching for a battery storage system that integrates well with EV chargers, but also just is easy to commission and just works. We've fitted quite a few different systems now over the last few months, and we've had loads of teething problems with commissioning, connectivity dropping out, stuff like that. The Solar Edge system is brilliant. The Solar Edge battery and the inverter works really well together, but then when you add a Zappi onto it, it can get confusing sometimes. You can get issues. So it's great that myenergi have actually come up with a battery system that will integrate with their charger. Just a shame that it's delayed, but stay tuned. Fish my cable into the back of the consumer unit. That's the aim. It's sort of the shortest ever Zappi cable run. Okay, so I think there's a joist here, so that's the only thing that we're going to have to get through if we want to do rear entry on this charger. But what I'm going to do is drill a hole in the back of the consumer unit here, then drill at an angle, and I should be able to just fish the cable through. Boom. So we're going to just try and fish this down from the back of the consumer unit and come out in this little hole. And this tool of the day, super rod cable tongue, is brilliant for these kind of situations. Oh yeah, here we go, I got it. All right, there we go. Boom. That is one lovely tongue. This is one of those tools that just saves you so much time and effort, so I'll leave a link in the description where you can get one of these because they are awesome. It's freezing, so while I stop for a quick cuppa, I'm going to tell you about today's video sponsor, which is Replenish. Replenish is the UK's leading EV wholesaler. We use them for loads of our EV charging points. The great thing I love about Replenish is that they're super reliable and they offer some of the best prices online. So what we do, for example, is we book the chargers to be delivered straight to the customers, and if we order before 8 PM, Replenish will deliver them the next day, which is just fantastic. They've got a huge range of products and their support is incredible. They really know their stuff, so if you need any help and support, you will get it from Replenish. So if you want to sign up for a trade account, we've got a special deal for you guys. Sign up before Christmas and you'll get £50 off your first order. Head to the link in the description to find out more. Now that I've got my cable tongue in, what I'm going to do before I pull the cable through is just put a bit of grommet strip around this hole just to make it nice and neat and smooth so that it's not going to damage the cable when I pull it through. Then I can pull through the cable and mount the EV charging point. So we've got two cables now that we've got to pull through this hole. One of them is this, which is a CT cable, because we're going to have a CT which will go around the solar circuit to show how much solar is being generated here. So that's going to pull straight through into the back of the Zappi, and then obviously we've got the power cable as well, which we're just going to use a bit of 6mm twin and earth because it's a very short run. It's not going to be, you know, it doesn't need to be protected or armoured or anything like that. We'll pull that through into the back of the Zappi as well, and then we can start to connect everything up. So we're just going to use some plasterboard fixings to fix that back. Obviously it's inside, it will be pretty solid with some plasterboard fixings. Right, so I made a fatal mistake. I forgot to include the data cable. Now the data cable is because we're going to hardwire this to the internet. We're going to have a network switch up here, and we're going to hardwire as many of the devices as possible, because although these do work well on Wi-Fi, we're majorly far from the house, and the customer is going to have a Wi-Fi network here in the garage, but I just prefer, if we can, I always prefer to hardwire devices for Ethernet as much as possible. The good thing is I can just tie this data cable on to the power cable, and then I can use the existing power cable to pull the data cable in. So network switch is going to be about up here, so we'll leave ourselves plenty of cable to work with. So I've added a second data cable, and that's going to be for our additional CT clamps for the house solar and for the grid. So we've got a data cable that runs from here back to the house. It's got 4 twisted pairs in it. It's a Cat 6 armoured cable, and one of those twisted pairs is going to be used for the CT or current transformer, basically one of these, for the grid, so that we know how much power the house is using or how much it's exporting to the grid. Then another one is going to clamp around this solar circuit that's already on the house to see how much that is producing, and then our third CT will go on the solar circuit in here. So we need 3 twisted pairs basically into this Zappi, and what I'm going to do is just use this, join it in the trunking here to the one that goes to the house, so that we've got our continuous CT cables back to the house. The nice thing about the Zappi now, the new one, it's got push fit connectors, so I can just literally push the wires in. There we go, got a nice neat connection there. I'm going to be crimping the RJ45 connector on to the end of this. This is what it looks like. We've got a little boot which will just go over it to sort of neaten it up, so we've put that on already, stripped the cable back, and now we've got to just straighten these wires up so that they pass through this pass-through crimp connector. A is for if you're making a crossover cable, you do one side A, one side B, as somebody taught me in the previous comments of the previous video. So yeah, I'm just going to get these straightened out and crimped on. So that's our data cable in. For our CT cable, we will just strip it back and we'll choose which coloured pairs we're going to use. Now when you choose your twisted pairs that you're going to use for your CTs, you have to write down what colour you're going to use for which. So we use Artisan Blue as our grid CTs, that's sort of our main CT that we always use. Then we use green for solar, because it's like green renewable. And then what I'll probably do is use the brown as the second house solar, and I'll just write it down so that I don't forget. So I've just put some fire sealant in this hole, so that's all nice. And now I'm going to get the cover on the Zappi and start with the rest of it. So what I'm doing here is just cutting the trunking. So I'm doing a chamfered 90, and I'm using this chop saw to do it. Some people will probably think I'm a complete cowboy for doing it this way, and oh, you should probably do it with a hacksaw or whatever, but I thought, you know what, we've got this lovely chop saw, why not use it? So what I've done is I've measured this length here, about 2 meters. Now the myenergi battery is going to go here, so we will cut it down eventually, but I'm going to leave it all the way across for the moment, just because I'm not 100% sure with the battery exactly where it's going to go here. So we're going to just leave it all the way, and then we've got a length that's about 70 centimeters to go there. So actually we can do this whole thing in one length. It's like 2 meters, 70. We'll do a chamfered 90 here. That's the plan. To show you how to do a chamfered 90, we'll use the end of this, take our saw and set it to 45 degrees. Got it on 45. Just going to take the end off. So we want it to kind of line up with that edge. Take a little bit more off, and that should do it. Okay, obviously because it's not quite gone through all the way, what we can do is just flip this like that, do the same the opposite way basically. So that is our 90 there, and we just got to shave the ends off basically and then get it on the wall, see what it looks like. So this is the idea, is that trunking is going to go up there, and then this angle here should be there, and then we've got a straight run along. So I've just got to cut off enough to bring that up to there. So in order to do that, it's very simple. I can just measure this bit here. So we've got 22. So if I cut 22 off the end, that'll bring it up to exactly where I want it. So now that we have got this trunking chamfer done, before I actually finally put it on the wall, what I also need to do is get the entries through from the consumer unit into this trunking cut. We've got a knockout there, so what I think I'll do is just knock that out, and then we'll draw a circle around it and we'll cut a hole there, and then that will give us a run through for our power circuits. Get the level on that, make sure it is level. So I'm going to drill 2 holes up into here. I'm trying to separate the DC solar cables from the Wi-Fi cable that we've got to run up. So that one will be for the Wi-Fi cable, and then that one will be for the DC strings. So I'm just going through now mounting all these boxes on. So this one is going to be a backup socket for when the myenergi Libby's on. We're going to have a set of backup circuits in here which will go to that. We've got a switch fuse connection unit here which is going to be for the Modbus. We've got this network switch which we're going to put up here, and then all the network cables are going to come in and out of that, and then under here we've got a single socket to go on. And I was just going to share with you this little tip about how to mark up the holes for these. These are the screws that they come with. You can screw the screw in and then slot it on. But how do you know where the screws mark up? Well, what you can do is just put a bit of tape over, like that. And then with a permanent marker, just mark where the indent is. You can feel it, so if you press it like that, and then you can draw it out. Cut the tape. Make sure those fixings are level. I'll do 2 screws there. We've had a little bit of a problem. I would love to show you how much energy these solar panels are producing, and to show you me diverting that power into the electric vehicle, but it chucked it down with snow 2 days ago and the panels are covered. The system is not generating anything right now, but I am going to talk you through what we've done and how it works in theory, and we'll have to come back and do another video to show you how it works in practice once we've got a bit more sunshine. So make sure you like and subscribe for that. So inside the consumer unit here, we've put a CT or current transformer. Now, I said to you at the beginning of the video that I was going to explain to you how those work. So we'll do a little bit of a deep dive on how CTs work. This is a CT or current transformer. What it is a little magnetic coil that wraps around the wire. In this case, the wire that comes in from the solar PV system. What it's effectively doing is measuring how much power the solar PV system is generating. We've got another one of these CTs on the main supply tail to the property that's measuring how much the whole house is using, how much they're importing or how much they're exporting. And we've got a third CT that's around the existing solar PV system in the house, measuring how much that solar PV system is generating. And I can show you what those CTs are reading right now live in the myenergi app. So here we see live that the house is using 0.7 kilowatts or 700 watts of power from the grid. The solar, unfortunately, is not generating anything right now. We've got an eddy here, which is a hot water energy diverter as well, so that if there was some excess solar, we could generate that into the hot water tank to heat the hot water, and that is the charging point. This is the history today. We've imported 8.1 kilowatts. But if I look at last week, we were generating some solar. You can see here, Fridays when we livened the system up. On Sunday, it was a nice sunny day, we actually exported some power. 1.6 kilowatt hours of power was exported on Sunday. The great thing about these CTs is that they give you accurate data on how much you're importing and exporting. Now, how do they work, I hear you ask? Well, it is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a current transformer. So essentially, it transforms the current that's flowing through this magnetic coil into a small amount of voltage. Very, very minuscule amount of voltage. It's actually read in millivolts. So it's like a miniature transformer, and it transforms the magnetic field of the cable that's passing through it into a small amount of voltage. That voltage then is sent down this wire into the device that is reading it, and that device, in this case the myenergi Zappi charging point, is set up with an algorithm that can read that voltage and transform that voltage figure into a current figure to say how much current is passing through the current transformer. So it's a safe way to read current, and in this case it's monitoring the solar, but as I said, we can use it to monitor the grid connection. You can use it to monitor any wire that has current passing through it, and it works the same principle as a clamp meter. So if you're an electrician, you've probably come across a clamp meter before. That is basically like a temporary CT. You clamp it around a wire and it reads the amount of current that is passing through that wire. So if our panels here weren't covered in snow, this is something like what it would look like. This is another project that we've done, and you can see it's generating a small amount of solar today, 0.4 kilowatts. So you can see the solar feeding in to the house, being topped up by the grid, and when you plug the charger in, the car charger, if there's excess solar, rather than it being sent out to the grid, it will divert that into the car and charge the battery in the car. And you can prioritize it as well, so that it charges the car first and then charges up your battery storage system, for example, or that it heats your hot water tank via the myenergi eddy. It's a great system, easy to monitor, and it allows you to maximize your self-consumption to make the most of your solar PV system. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video today. It is part of a series that we've filmed here on this project, so if you'd like to see in depth how we installed the solar panels, how we got that inverter on the wall, and all the other things that we've done here, make sure you like and subscribe and have notification bells on. Thank you so much to Replenish for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you head to the link in the description to find out more about them, and we'll see you on the next one. So I'm just preparing the board to be or not to be, that is the question.